The world was still young when the first lie was told, the first jealousy kindled, and the first life taken. Two brothers approached the same God with two very different offerings, one accepted, one rejected. But when rage takes root in a man's heart, even divine warning cannot stop what comes next. And when the deed is done, the victim's blood will not stay silent. The earth was young, but it bore scars. Scorched ground near Eden's edge still whispered of fire and sword, remnants of the garden's fall and the flaming sentinels that barred the way back in. A memory of Eden, of their father's voice cracking as he described walking with the Creator in the cool of the day. Now, they approached the altar together, stones piled high near a clearing where the trees bent as though listening. Cain came first. He placed before the altar a basket of his harvest, wheat heads, some overripe figs, and a bruised gourd, still dripping sap. He paused, glancing at his younger brother, then looked away quickly. Abel approached next, carrying a bound lamb, the firstborn from his best ewe. Its coat gleamed like ivory, and it made no sound. Abel's knife was already in hand. He whispered something, inaudible, then made the cut clean. Blood hit the earth. He gathered the fat portions, the choicest pieces, and laid them with trembling hands upon the stones. Then they waited. A wind stirred. The sky opened. Fire fell, not wildly, but with precision, a focused fury that engulfed Abel's offering in a rush of divine hunger. Smoke twisted upward like incense carried by unseen hands. Cain's offering remained untouched. Silence followed. No explanation. No thunder. Just the absence of flame. Cain's jaw clenched. He did not speak. But in his eyes, something had shifted, a storm gathering at the edge of reason. Abel bowed his head, not in triumph, but in trembling. He did not meet his brother's eyes. In the shadows of the trees, Eve watched. She said nothing, but her hand gripped Adam's arm. They had seen fire before. In silence. That night, the stars offered no comfort. The sun rose over a restless house. Cain had not slept. He sat at the edge of his field, fingers digging furrows into dry soil. God was near. Not in form, not in fire, but present. The presence pressed on Cain's soul like a weight. He could not see him, yet he could not look away. Then the voice came, not loud, but with clarity enough to shake the bones. Why are you angry, Cain? Why is your face fallen? Cain swallowed, but said nothing. His fists closed around clumps of dirt. If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. The words struck like thunder, though spoken like a father warning a child at the edge of a cliff. They were not a judgment. They were a lifeline. Cain stared at the ground. A beetle crawled from between his fingers. Sin was crouching, the voice had said. Like a beast. He should have run. He should have wept. But instead, Cain stood and wiped the dirt from his hands. Sin crouched, yes. But something else had already curled itself around his heart. Resentment. That night, Abel sat by the fire, humming to his flock. He had not spoken to Cain since the offering. Not out of pride, but caution. He felt a strangeness in the air, as though the stars above knew something he did. Cain spoke little as they walked. Abel watched him from the corner of his eye, noting how his brother's jaw remained tight, how his hands flexed at his sides. You work hard, Cain said at last, voice dry. The sheep, they listen to you. Abel nodded slowly. And the ground listens to you. Cain stopped walking. Abel took one more step before pausing. He turned to face his brother. What do you want from me, Cain? Cain's eyes were dark. Not with sorrow. Not with confusion. With finality. There are no witnesses to what happened next. No words recorded. No cries remembered. Only that Cain rose up. And Abel fell. The ground opened its mouth. Blood sank into the earth. The field fell silent. The first death. The first murder. The world held its breath. Somewhere, the trees shivered. Cain stood over the body of his brother, heart pounding. He looked at his hands, red and shaking. He waited for thunder. For fire. For punishment to strike him dead on the spot. But the sky was silent. What have you done? The voice asked, and the very soil beneath Cain's feet trembled. Listen. Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. The wind howled through the trees. The sky darkened as if morning. Now you are cursed from the earth, the voice continued, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a wanderer you shall be on the earth. Cain staggered. The punishment struck deeper than any blade. The ground had once answered him. Now it would turn its face away. He would become a man without roots, without rest. My punishment is more than I can bear. Cain cried, Behold, you have driven me away from the ground, and from your face I shall be hidden. I will be a fugitive, a wanderer, and whoever finds me will kill me. Then, in a voice softer than before, the Lord replied, Not so. There was no sign of his passing, save for the stories that would follow. The story of the firstborn who murdered his brother. The tale of the man who stood before the Creator and lied, then fled, carrying with him the first curse. But though Cain's life was one of wandering and hardship, he did not walk alone. The line of Cain grew, as lines always do, and soon his descendants filled the land. And in that line, there was one whose voice would be heard. Lamech, the seventh generation from Cain, was a man of strength and pride. His heart burned with anger, just as Cain's had, but his words, unlike Cain's silent flight, would roar across the ages. I have killed a man for wounding me, Lamech boasted one day to his wives, his chest puffed with the weight of his violence. If Cain is avenged sevenfold, then Lamech 77-fold. The words, careless and arrogant, poured out like the blood of a beast slain in the name of pride. Lamech claimed vengeance with greater fury than even Cain had dared. And in his words, violence became a legacy. Cain, though marked and cursed, was given a chance to repent. Yet he chose to hide. Abel, though silent in death, still speaks, for his blood cries out. And through him, even in death, his legacy lives on. The earth bears the weight of all that has happened. But the story does not end here. There is always another chapter, always another choice. And perhaps, in the end, it is not just the blood that cries out, but the heart that beats for redemption.